Quo Vadis, chapter 40. In Antium, meanwhile, Petronius gained new victories almost daily over Gortias, vain, vying with him for the favor of Caesar. The influence of Tigellinus had fallen completely in Rome when there was occasion to set aside men who seemed dangerous to plunder their property or to settle political cases, to give spectacles stunning by their luxury and bad taste, or finally to satisfy the monstrous whims of Caesar. Tigellinus, as adroit as he was already for anything, became indispensable. But in Antium, among places reflected in a shore of the sea, Caesar led a Hellenic existence. From morning till evening, Nero has his attendants read verses, discourse on their structure and finish, were delighted with happy turns of expression, were occupied with music, with theatre, in a word exclusively to what his Grecian genius had invented, and with which had beautified life. Under these conditions, Petronius, incomparably more refined than Tigellinus and the other courtiers, witty, eloquent, full of subtle feelings and tastes, obtained preeminence of necessity. Caesar sought his society, to his opinion, asked for advice when he composed, and showed a more lively friendship than at any other time whatever. It seems to Courtiers that his influence had won a supreme triumph at last. That friendship between him and Caesar had entered on a period of certainty which will last for years. Even those who had shown dislike previously to the exquisite Epicurean began now to crowd around him and vie for his favor. More than one was even sincerely glad in his soul that preponderance had come to a man who knew really what to think of a given person, to receive with a skeptical smile the flattery of enemies of yesterday, but with who either through indolence or culture was not vengeful, and did not use his power to detriment and destruction of others. There were moments when he might have destroyed even Tigellinus, but he preferred to ridicule them and expose his vulgarity and want of refinement. In Rome, the Senate drew breath, for no death sentence had been issued for a month and a half. It is true that in Antium and in the city the people told the wonders of the refinement which the profligacy of Caesar and his favorite had reached, but every one preferred a refined Caesar to one brutalized in the hands of Tigellinus. Tigellinus himself lost his head and hesitated whether or not yield as conquered, for Caesar had said repeatedly that all in Rome and his court were only two spirits capable of understanding each other, two real Hellenists, he and Petronius. The amazing dexterity of Petronius confirmed people in the conviction that his influence will outline every other. They did not see how Caesar could dispense with him. With whom could he converse touching poetry, music, comparative excellence? In whose eyes could he look to learn whether his creation was indeed perfect? Petronius, with his habitual indifference, seemed to attach no importance to his position. As usual, he remained slothful, skeptical, and witty. He produced on people frequently the impression of a man who made delight of them, of himself, of Caesar, of the whole world. At moments he ventured to criticize Caesar to his face, and when others judged that he was going too far, or simply preparing his own ruin, he was able to turn the criticism suddenly in such a way that it came out to his profit. He roused amazement in those present, and the conviction that there was no position from which he could not issue in triumph. About a week after the return of Vinicius from Rome, Caesar read in a small circle an extract from his Historiad. When he had finished and the shouts of rapture had ended, Petronius, interrogated by a glance of Caesar, replied, "Common verses fit for the fire." The hearts of those present stopped beating from terror. Since the years of his childhood, Nero had never heard such a sentence from any man. The face of the Hellenos was radiant with delight, but Vinicius grew pale, thinking that Petronius, who thus far had never been drunk, was drunk this time. Nero, however, inquired, a honeyed voice, in which more or less deeply wounded vanity was quivering. What defect dost thou find in them? Do not believe them, said Petronius, attacking him and pointing to those present. They understand nothing. Thou hast asked what defect there is in thy eyes. If thou desire truth, I will tell thee. Thy verses will be worthy of Virgil, of it, even of Homer, but they are not worthy of thee. Thou art not free to write such. The conflagration described by thee does not blaze enough. Thy fire is not hot enough. Listen not to Lucan flatteries. Had he written those verses, I should acknowledge him a genius, but thy case is different, and thou knowest thou why? Thou art greater than they. From him who is gifted of God as thou art, more is demanded. But thou art slothful. Thou wilt rather sleep after dinner than sit to wrinkles. Thou canst create a work such as the world has not heard to this day of to this day. Hence I tell thee, to thy eyes write better. He said this carelessly, as if bantering, also kidding. But his eyes were mist covered with from delight. The gods have given me a little talent, said he, but they have given me something greater, a true judge and friend, the only man able to speak the truth to my eyes. Then he stretched his fat hand, grown over with reddish hair, to a golden calendrum plundered from Delphi, to burn the verses, but Petronius seized them before the flame touched the paper. No, no, said he, even though they belong to my kind, leave them to me. In such case, let let me send them to thee in a cylinder of my own invention, answered Nero, embracing Petronius. True thou art right, said he, after a while. My conflagration of Troy does not blaze enough, my fire is not hot enough, but I thought it sufficient to equal Homer. A certain timidity and low estimate of my power have fettered me always. Thou hast opened my eyes, but knowest why it is, as thou sayest? When a sculptor makes a statue of a god, he seeks a model, but never have I had a model. I never have seen a burning city, hence there is a lack of truth in my description. Then I will say that only a great artist understands this. Nero grew thoughtful, and after a while he said, answer one question, Petronius. Dost thou regret the burning of Troy? Do I regret? But the lamb consort of Venus, not in the least. And I will tell thee the reason. Troy will not have been consumed if Prometheus had not given fire to man, and the Greeks may ward on Priam. Achilles will not have written his Prometheus had there been no fire, just as Homer would not have written the Iliad had there been no Trojan War. I think it better to have Prometheus and the Iliad than a small and shabby city, which was unclean, I think, and wretched, and in which at best there could be now some procurator, annoying thee, though quarrels with the local Areopagus. Areopagus. That is what we call speak it with sound reason, said Nero, for art and poetry is permitted, that is right, to sacrifice everything. Happy were the Achaeans who furnished Homer with the substance of the Iliad, and happy Priam who held the ruin of his birthplace. As to me, I had never seen a burning city. A time of silence followed, which was broken at last by the Hellenes. But I have said to thee, Caesar, already, command and I will burn Antium, or those thou know what. O thou art sorry for these villains and palaces, give to men to burn the ships of Inostia, or I will build a wooden city in the Alban hills, into which thou shalt hurl the fire thyself. Dost thou wish? I am to gaze on the burning of wooden sheds, asked Nero, casting a look of contempt on him. Thy mind has grown utterly barren, Tigellinus, and I see, besides, that thou set no great value on my talent or my triad, since thou judged, since thou judgest that my sacrifice will be too great for it. Tigellinus was confused, but Nero, as if wishing to change the conversation, added after a while, "Summer is passing. Oh, what a strange there must be in a Rome now. Oh, what a stench there must be in that Rome now. And still we must return for the summer games. When those dismiss us, the Augustan, O Caesar, permit me to remain with thee a moment," said Tigellinus. An hour later, Vinicius, returning with Petronius from Caesar's villa, said, "I was a trifle alarmed for thee. I judged that while drunk thou hast ruined thyself beyond redemption. Remember that thou art playing with death." "That is my arena," answered Petronius carelessly, "and the feeling that I am the best gladiator, and it amuses me. See how it ended? My influence has increased this evening. He will send me his verses in a cylinder, which, though wish to lay a wager, will be immensely rich and in immensely bad taste. I shall command my physician to keep physic in it. I did this for another reason, because the Hellenists, seeing how such things succeeded, will wish surely to imitate me, and I imagine that and I imagine what will happen. The moment he starts criticism, it will be as if a bear of the Pyrenees were walking. I shall laugh like Democritus. If I wish, I could destroy Tigellinus perhaps and become Praetorian prefect in his place. I have a Genobarbus himself in my hands, but I am indolent. I prefer my present life and even Caesar's verses to trouble. What dexterity to be able to turn even blame into flattery. But are those verses really so bad? I am no judge in those matters. The verses are not worse than others. Lucan has more talent in one finger, but in bronze spears too there is something. He has above all an immense love for poetry and music. In 2 days we are in 2 days we are to be with him to hear the music of his hymn to Aphrodite, which he will finish today or tomorrow. We shall be in a small circle, only I, thou, Tigellinus, Senecio, and a young Nerva. But as to what I said touching Nero verses, that I use them after feasting as Vitellius does flamingo feathers, it is not true. At times they are eloquent. Hecuba's words are touching. She complains of the pangs of birth, and Nero was able to find happy expressions, for this reason, perhaps, that he gives birth to every verse in torment. Times I am sorry for him. By Pollux, what a marvelous mixture! The fifth stave was lacking in Caligula, but still he never did such strange things. Who can foresee to what the madness of Agenobarbus will go? Asked Vinicius. No man whatever's. Such things may happen yet, that the hair will stand on men's heads for whole centuries a thought of them. But it's that precisely which interests me. And though I am bored more than once like Jupiter among in the desert, I believe that under another Caesar I should be bored 100 times more. Paul, thy little Jew, is eloquent, that I accord to him. And if people like him proclaim that religion our gods must defend themselves seriously, lest in the time they be led away captive. It is true that if Caesar, for example, were a Christian, all will feel safer, but the prophets of Tarsus, in applying proofs to me, do not think, says thou, that for me this uncertainty becomes the charm of life. Whoso does not play at dice will not lose property, but still people play at dice. There is in that a certain delight and destruction of the present, I have known sons of knights and senators to become gladiators of their own will. I play with life, thou sayest, and that is true. But I play because it pleases me, while Christian virtues will bore me in a day. I do the discourses of Seneca. Because of this, Paul's eloquence is exerted in vain. He shall understand that people like me will never accept his religion. With thy disposition, thou might either hate the name Christian or become a Christian immediately. I recognize, while you owning the truth of what they say. We are mad. We are hastening to that precipice. Something unknown is coming toward us out of the future. Something is breaking beneath us. Something is dying around us. Agree. But we shall succeed in dying. Meanwhile, we have no wish to burden life and serve death before it take us. Life exists for itself, not for death. But I pity thee, Petronius. Do not pity me more than I pity myself. Formerly thou wert glad among us, while campaigning in Armenia thou wert longing for Rome. And now I am longing for Rome. True, for thou art in love with a Christian Vestal who sits in the Transtiber. I neither wonder at this, nor I blame thee. I wonder more that I, in spite of a religion described by thee as a sea of happiness, and in spite of a love which soon be crowned, sadness has not left thy face. Pomponia Graecina is eternal pensive. From the time of thy becoming a Christian, thou hast ceased to laugh. Do not try to persuade me that this religion is cheerful. Thou hast returned from Rome sadder than ever. If Christians love in this way by the bright corals of Bacchus, I shall not imitate them. That is another thing, answered Vinicius. I swear to thee, not by the corals of Bacchus, but by the soul of my father, that never in times past have I experienced even a foretaste of such happiness as I breathe today. But I yearn greatly, and what is stranger, I am far from Lycia. I think that danger is threatening her. I know not what danger, nor whence it might come, but I feel it, as one feels a coming tempest. In 2 days I will try to obtain for thee permission to leave Antium, for as long a time as may please thee. Poppaea is somewhat more quiet, and, as far as I know, no danger for her threats from her threatens thee or Lycia. This very day she asked me what this very day she asked me what I was doing in Rome, though my departure was secret. Perhaps she gave command to set spies on thee. Now, however, even she must count with me. Paul told me, said Vinicius, that God forewarns sometimes, but does not permit us to believe in omens. Hence I warn myself against this belief, but I cannot ward it off. I will tell thee what happened, so as to cast the weight from my heart. Vicky and I were sitting side by side on a night as calm as this, and planning our future. I cannot tell thee how happy and calm we were. All at once lions began to roar. That is common in Rome, but since then I have no rest. It seems to me that in that roaring there was a threat, an announcement, as it were, of misfortune. Thou knowest that I am not frightened easily. That night, however, something happened which filled all darkness with terror. It came so strangely and unexpectedly that I have those sounds in my ears and unbroken fear in my heart, as if Leah were asking my protection from something dreadful, even from those same lions. I am in torture. Obtain me permission to leave Antium, or I shall go without it. I cannot remain. I repeat thee, I cannot. Sons of councils or their wives are not given to lions yet in the arenas, said Petronius laughing. Any other death might meet thee but that. Who knows, besides, that they were lions? German bisons roar with no less gentleness than lions. As to me, I ridicule omens and fates. Last night was warm, and I saw stars falling like rain. Many a man has an evil foreboding at such a sight. But I thought, If among these is my star too, I shall not like society at least. Then he was silent, but added after a moment of thought, if your Christ has risen from the dead, he might perhaps protect you both from death. He might, answered Vinicius, looking at the heavens filled with stars.